What a thunderous, lopsided, gigantic statement win by Matthew Stafford and the Rams last night. This was the vision. LA crunched Arizona as Matthew Stafford got the playoff monkey off his back, winning his first career playoff game. And that's going to be a springboard for more. Stafford was a rock, throwing for a couple of touchdowns, running another one in. For a quarterback with a knack for some ill-advised picks this year, this was huge. Stafford in control, in command, a clean, efficient performance. That was a thing of beauty. Odell Beckham Jr. was terrific yet again. The great Cooper Kupp caught a touchdown. To me, the key was balance. Sony Michel, Cam Akers, they combined to control the game on the ground. And what a story Cam Akers is. Second game back from a torn Achilles in July. Akers, a stud. Michelle is a former first-round pick of the Patriots. And this is a big deal. The Rams' defense was simply amazing. How about David Long with the pick six? That was obviously the highlight. And the front seven just worked Arizona over. Von Miller was seemingly everywhere. Aaron Donald played like the Mount Rushmore player of all time on defense that he is. Sean McVay's brilliant coaching was on display. The same can be said for defensive coordinator, my guy, Raheem Morris. Les Snead, the incredible trades he's made, all on display from Stafford and Jalen Ramsey to Michel and Von Miller. And this, at the end of the day, was just incredible. When you consider that the Rams, in my opinion, have just gotten started. I said last week that if my winners from Wild Card Weekend held up, the Rams would absolutely go on the road and beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, something they did earlier in the season when they sacked Tom Brady 3 times. It's going to happen, especially with the additions of Akers and Miller and Odell. They weren't even there the first time they played in the regular season. The Rams are going to beat the Buccaneers on Sunday. The Buccaneers have key injuries on the offensive line, receiver, and the running back position. The Rams are loaded with talent, a roster filled with dudes. Last night was not a fluke. I expect them to eliminate Tom Brady on Sunday. Kyler Murray was simply dreadful last night. Simply cringeworthy, an embarrassment, a deer in headlights, not remotely ready for prime time. He looked like he was better off in center field for the A's than center stage for the Cardinals. And look, I'm not telling Kyler to quit and go play baseball for the team that drafted him in the first round, but I am saying the Cardinals have a problem, a Kyler and Cliff problem. Murray has been bad in big spots throughout his career, bad head-to-head, including now the postseason against the Rams. Last night he looked like he never played football. That's a problem. And there's a bigger picture. This game would have been in Arizona if Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray beat the last-place Seahawks in Week 18. They have been a literal house of cards. The Cards have been a house of cards folding in consecutive years. I mean, it's a pattern. Remember this year, the 7-0 record? Remember 10-2? Me neither. Including last night, Arizona, disastrous down the stretch of the season. Now, sure, they greatly, obviously missed DeAndre Hopkins, and that's a big deal. But come on, this roster is loaded, and it shouldn't equal losing to inferior teams late in the year yet again, or getting steamrolled in the playoffs. One thing to lose, they didn't even show up last night. Cliff Kingsbury is a .500 coach in the NFL. Kyler Murray is a 5'9" quarterback who, in theory, is due a $40 million contract. There is no positive way to spin it. The Cardinals season was a disappointment and a failure. I don't know how you could look into the crystal ball and believe you'll ever see Kyler and Cliff standing on a podium hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. I hear what Stephen Jones is saying, and normally when someone with the last name Jones speaks on 105.3 The Fan in Dallas, it's gospel. And the word absolutely, when discussing Mike McCarthy coming back, should, in theory, have all the weight and the meaning in the world. But I'm not remotely there yet. The Cowboys season was an unacceptable, unmitigated, undisciplined disaster, a waste, a failure. Jerry Jones said after the ball game he never felt worse after a loss, and I get it. What happened at the end was just totally unacceptable. This QB run, there was no time for it, literally. Tony Romo and Jim Nantz were all over it. Should have never been called by Kellen Moore. Should have never been approved by Mike McCarthy. Dak should have called an audible and called it off. And Dak Prescott should have known the rules. You can't spot your own football. Don't blame the ref. And then for Dak to applaud the fans for throwing trash at the officials, wow. That's a mess. That's not Dak Prescott. Usually he's a great guy. And here's the reality. Dak Prescott, you watched the game on CBS. He was underwhelming. He didn't play well. You could throw in the Niners DBs. Dak couldn't. Where the heck was CD Lamb? I picked San Francisco to win because the Niners had a major coaching advantage, even though the Cowboys had more talent. And that, in a sentence, is the problem. And that's the case against keeping Mike McCarthy. Dan Quinn was everything to Dallas's defense, and Quinn has 4 head coaching interviews scheduled this week, including Denver today, where he's considered the favorite. Does Jerry Jones really want to lose Dan Quinn? I don't think so. Prescott, Moore, and McCarthy all deserve a ton of blame for the loss. The team was undisciplined, 14 penalties. Look, winning the worst division in pro football, making the playoffs, that's not even close to the standard of being good enough. And that's why I'm not exactly believing Stephen Jones when he says Mike McCarthy is absolutely coming back. So much to talk out on a Tuesday. The Raiders fired general manager Mike Mayock after 3 years as the GM, with an active search ongoing for the next general manager and head coach. So what's next for the Raiders? Well, let's talk this out together. Number one, Mike Mayock didn't stand the chance once John Gruden was let go. Officially, Gruden resigned, but in essence, he was fired, and it was always 51-49 Gruden, Mayock in terms of decision-making. And look, obviously, they had terrible drafts and major reaches and first guesses on my part, and I liked Mike Mayock a lot. Professionally, personally, he was great on the NFL Network. There was no chance Mike Mayock was going to keep his job, and listen, they're already actively looking at GMs. They're looking at head coaches. Rich Bisaccia is not going to be the next head coach of the Raiders. I think that you almost have to separate it, differentiate it. Rich Bisaccia did a phenomenal job, not good, phenomenal as the interim head coach. He handled Gruden, Ruggs, those awful situations with grace, dignity, aplomb, and the team was phenomenal down the stretch. They stayed together and won games and made the playoffs, and they were very competitive against Cincinnati. Next sentence, he's not going to be the permanent head coach of the Raiders, and that's smart because you don't want to get duped by lightning in the bottle with an interim head coach, and we've seen that in the past. Now, I still believe Jim Harbaugh is the number one candidate. And Jim Harbaugh, obviously, he was an assistant coach with the Raiders. Mark Davis absolutely loves him. Jim Harbaugh, if you ever wanted to go to the NFL, everything he would want is there with the Raiders. He wants power. He wants money. He would get both. A golden opportunity to do whatever he wants with his staff, his handpicked general manager, whoever it is, in order to win. So until he signs a new contract with Michigan, I'm not going to rule it out. I love Gerard Mayo as a possibility. I think they're going to cast a wide net. But you know Mark Davis loves the big name. Think about the John Gruden contract, but giving it to Jim Harbaugh, that's what I really think the Raiders ultimately want to do. To the divisional rounds, where the 49ers are going to meet the Packers Saturday night at Lambeau Field. So, can San Francisco keep the good times rolling? Let's talk this out. Injuries are a huge factor. And health, and when you play a team, it's obviously a big deal in the postseason. Listen, Nick Bosa in concussion protocol. We're talking about a guy I voted for first team All-Pro. Fred Warner, he tweeted, sounds like he's going to play, but is he going to be 100%? Not a high ankle sprain, but He's still coming off of an ankle sprain, and he's one of the best linebackers in the sport. Jimmy G has the thumb, now a shoulder, and also a knack for throwing it to the wrong team. Now, you do have this unbelievable run game, and Mitchell is outstanding. And Deebo Samuel is on a list of one in terms of versatile gems in the National Football League. And you know that Kyle Shanahan and D'Amico Ryan's going to make sure the team is coached up. But there's this. For all the conversation about what old 49ers teams have done to the Packers in the past, this was this year. Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, perfection. And again, and this was part of the Cowboys rant earlier, you can throw on these 49ers. Aaron Rodgers is not losing Saturday nights to these San Francisco 49ers. The 49er team that obviously passed on him in favor of Alex Smith with the #1 pick in the draft in 2005. So he's still livid about that. And look, they're getting healthy at the right time. The bye week matters. Rodgers could rest the toe. Smith, Alexander, Bakhtiari. Time is of the essence in terms of making sure those guys are healthy. San Francisco, in terms of injuries and matchup at Lambeau against Rodgers and Adams, they have no chance of beating the Packers on Saturday nights. Got to talk this one out on a Tuesday. Should the Philadelphia Eagles move on from Jalen Hurts? Well, there's a lot to get into here. Number one, the Eagles had no chance against Tampa Bay. Told you that. And Jalen Hurts didn't play well. But if you think it was all his fault, you weren't paying attention. I think Jalen Hurts is one of the top 32 quarterbacks in the league. Proved he can start. He's a big-time leader. He's super smart. He's got a really good arm, can improve the accuracy, you see the completion percentage, and he's an amazing athlete with a knack of winning. Saw that in college and in the pros. See, what I would argue, and the Eagles have all these picks, right, including 15, 16, 19, don't get duped by being team 7 in the NFC. Eagles weren't any good. They are not a good football team. They still need to build all over the defense, still need to build that offensive line. Jalen Reagor is a disaster at wide receiver. They should have picked Justin Jefferson. Look, if there's a way to improve the quarterback position concretely, we could talk about it. But I'm not giving up those 3 picks or 2 of those 3 picks for Russell Wilson. That doesn't make sense. Russell Wilson doesn't take this current Eagle team to the Super Bowl. They're not even a division winner as is with Russell Wilson. What I would do is try to build. Now, you can get a Malik Willis out of Liberty. You can get a Kenny Pickett out of Pittsburgh. I love those 2 quarterbacks. Senior Bowl coming up next week. I was one of those picks in the middle of the first round. I'm not bringing in a Jimmy Garoppolo as a stopgap. I think you can still win with Jalen Hurts. I saw a lot of good things out of him this year. I am not throwing him away. I'm making sure that I fill out the roster around him. I feel better we talked that out. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the bell for more videos.